The world of cosmology lost its most famous star today. The physicist and cosmologist Stephen Hawking passed away at the age of 76. Mr. Hawking passed away early today morning. The cause behind his death is not yet known. His family released a statement. It says, and I quote, "He was a great scientist and an extraordinary man whose work and legacy will live on for years. His courage and persistence with his brilliance and humor inspired people across the world. He once said, it would not be much of our universe if it wasn't home to the people you love. We will miss him forever." Unquote. Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with a motor neuron disease when he was 21 years old. At that time, doctors predicted he will have 2 more years to live. He became a well-known name when he wrote a book, Brief History in Time. The book has sold 10 million copies worldwide and broke the Guinness Book of World Record for staying on the Sunday Times bestseller list for 237 weeks. Apart from his many accomplishments, Stephen Hawking was known for his sense of humor and the way of dealing with disease which left him wheelchair bound. He's perhaps one of the most famous physicists in the world, with many mentions in pop culture, and even a movie was made on him called The Theory of Everything. I'm joined by Dr. S.P. Lochab, nuclear scientist. Sir, thank you for making time for WION, sir. If we have to talk about Stephen Hawking, sir, how can his contribution be remembered, sir?
First of all, I'll contribute that scientist community really lost a brilliant scientist and a beautiful mind. And Stephen was basically a theoretical physicist, and he was a cosmologist, astronomer. He was also a mathematician. Rather, he has contributed a lot of books to the scientific community as an author. And of course, there is no doubt that he was a renowned physicist, and in the science community, we call him an ambassador of science. I can say that his pioneer work made the world a better place. Here, a very important thing that Professor Hawkins, he discovered that black holes are not completely black. That was the great thing, but they emit radiation and eventually evaporate and disappear.
Okay.
That was the concept. So Hawkins used to speak. Then, the disease was diagnosed at the age of just 21. He was suffering with ALS, that is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Yes.
This is a fatal disease, and it was diagnosed at the age of 21. That was his strong desire and willpower that he lived with this disease till the age of 76. So we can say that we really lost a great scientist, and I think it will be very difficult that somebody will take the place of such a great scientist.
And sir, more important, the fact is that there are a lot of many other brilliant scientists also, but he was known among the community of non-scientists. A lot of people with general science reading background. He had a larger persona there too.
Yeah, of course, yes. And his contribution is great in the this astronomy. Absolutely no doubt.
Yes.
Here we can say that the Professor Hawkins merged Einstein's theory of relativity with the quantum theory.
Okay.
And it is that space and time would begin with the Big Bang, and that ends in the
okay.
black hole.
Thank you, Mr. Lochab. Thank you very much. I'm also joined by Dr. G. Madhavan Nair, former chairman ISRO. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I was asking this question that how do we sum up the contribution of Stephen Hawking, and in what way his contribution will be remembered, sir?
he has, of course, we all regret the demise of Stephen Hawking. Well, I think he has been a scientist of extraordinary capability. Though he was diagnosed for some physical problems, even at the age of 20, he withstood all those pressures, and simply because of the willpower and the power of the brain, he has contributed to the scientific world in a very, very significant manner. Of course, his main contribution is in terms of finding the explanation for the black hole and the things like that. And then, of course, his ability to think differently. That was what made him great. He has based his findings on the theories of Einstein, but he further explained the phenomena happening in the universe. Above all, he was trying to see whether there can be a unified theory which will explain the entire universe. We have the electromagnetic theory, the gravitational theory, and so on, and the Einstein's principles. But all these were explaining individual areas or maybe some other areas. But Hawking believed that this entire universe is based on a very systematic rule, regulation. And if we can decipher that, what is the theory and what is the principle behind that, then we can explain everything what is happening in the universe. This is a great idea.
Sir,
but, I think we are ready.
He also, I think in context of black hole, he also made that contribution, but more so, sir, making these complex issues available to common folk was, I think, one of his other contributions. He made very high science available to people who do not have science background or perhaps do not possess those skills.
Certainly, I think that's a very, very major achievement, so to say. Most of the scientists who are working in the theoretical physics or the particle science and so on, they dwell within their laboratories and with their theories, publishing papers and so on. There is one scientist who wanted to bring the knowledge to the common man, and he explained in such a simple manner about the origin of the universe, the present condition, and where it is going and so on. And so he made the entire phenomena about the universe known to the common man. That's certainly a significant achievement. More than that, his particular, he had more or less come to the conclusion that there is a creator who is responsible for this very fine development of the universe. And that perhaps, pointing to the concept of the God being creator in many of our religious texts and so on. So this concept of the origin of the universe, and still there are a lot of missing links in that. And that will be the pointer to the new generation of scientists. That think differently and try to build upon the knowledge what we have, and you have the courage to question the existing theories and principles. And also, if you commit a mistake, you should be able to accept it. So that is a great fault for Stephen Hawking. And we all derive really the courage and energy from it.
Thank you, Dr. G. Madhavan Nair, for this conversation. And yes, this is a very sad development which is taking place in the world. Stephen Hawking not only understood higher science, not only postulated new theories on black hole, but he made it available, accessible to common people. Things which Madhavan Nair was saying, particle physics, cosmology, and most important of all, the theory of relativity. Now, moving on, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted saying that Professor Stephen Hawking was an outstanding scientist and academic. His grit and tenacity inspired people all over the world. His demise is anguishing. Professor Hawking's pioneering work made our world a better place. May his soul rest in peace, unquote. President of India also tweeted, said, sad to hear of the passing of the scientist Stephen Hawking. His brilliant mind made our world and our universe a less mysterious place, and his courage and resilience will remain an inspiration for generation, unquote. Now let's listen to some of the excerpts from Stephen Hawking's.
To report that I think I have solved a major problem in theoretical physics that has been around since I discovered that black holes radiate thermally 30 years ago. Yet if, as I hope, basic science becomes part of general awareness, what now appear as the paradoxes of quantum theory will seem as just common sense to our children's children. The present exponential growth cannot continue indefinitely. However, to a large extent, we shall have to rely on mathematical beauty and consistency to find the ultimate theory of everything. I think the human race has no future if it doesn't go into space. I therefore want to encourage public interest in space. I have long wanted to go into space, and a zero-gravity flight is the first step towards space travel. As you can imagine, I am very excited. I have been wheelchair-bound for almost 4 decades, and the chance to float free in zero-G will be wonderful.
The U.S. Space Agency, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, had paid glowing tribute to the renowned physicist Stephen Hawking, terming him the ambassador of science. Hawking breathed his last early Wednesday morning. NASA remembered the time Hawking spoke to astronauts on board the International Space Station. It said, and I quote, "Remembering Stephen Hawking, a renowned physicist and an ambassador of science, his theories unlock a universe of possibilities that we and the world are exploring. May you keep flying like Superman in microgravity," as you said to astronauts on Space Station in 2014.